All right, Chairman Cap and I have at 9:20.
We can go ahead and start then. So we'll call the meeting to order. Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, September 17th, 2020 at 9:20 a.m. Thanks, everyone. It's been a while since we've seen you. Virtually is best we can right now. So I do have to read a disclaimer that we have allowing for the meeting to be held via Zoom. So let me go through that, and then we'll do roll call after that, if that's okay. Pursuant to Section 7E of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, the August 21st, 2020 gubernatorial disaster proclamation, and written determination of the Zoning Board of Appeals chair, a public meeting can be held by audio or video conference during a physical quorum. Due to public health concerns, this meeting is being conducted by audio video conference. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed at lakecountyil.gov/watch ZBA to allow members of the public the ability to watch the meeting. In-person attendance also has been made available to the public in the second floor conference room at the Lake County Permit Facility at 500 West Winchester Road in Libertyville, Illinois, and is limited to the number of persons participating in keeping with social distancing requirements. As a reminder to board members, if you are able to share your video, please ensure your camera is on when you're speaking and when voting. If you wish to speak, please raise your virtual hand. If you're calling in with a phone, press *9 to raise your hand. After your name has been called to speak, allow for a short delay and you'll be unmuted. And I'll have Hannah go over that in just a minute a little further. If board members, as well as members of the public and county staff, could please keep themselves muted for the duration of the hearing unless speaking, it'll help prevent any undue interruption of the hearing. And please note, select items may be presented via screen and shared during the course of the hearing. And just a reminder, as said before, this is being recorded and live streamed. So if 9:30 in the morning, your dog always barks out the national anthem, you may want to put him in another room. If your kid is going to come in asking for help with their homework, tell them to wait a few minutes. So we don't need to make you YouTube famous via these conferences. So with that, I'll ask Brad to give a roll call. And then Hannah, if you would go through how we're going to do if people have questions, raise their hand and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, Member Hockney?
Here.
Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Reindl? Member Reindl is currently not present. Member Roche?
Here.
Member Starkey?
Here.
And Chairman Kappan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, sounds good. Thanks, Brad. Any other items to be added to the agenda from staff? Seeing none. The only thing I would like to do is recognize both George Bell and Jerry Stimson for their many years of service. We did receive their resignation letters during the pandemic. Both have been integral parts of this board for many, many years. And George was an outstanding leader that we got to know on a personal level, both of them on a personal level, so that it's a loss, but we are always happy to have our new members and probably some future members joining us too. But I just wanted to give a thank you to both of them publicly for all the work they've done. Hannah, if you wanted to go over one more time how people can ask questions and raising hand and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Zoom and the basic functions of Zoom, mute and unmute, but particularly raising hands. It's kind of hidden if you're in this version of Zoom. So I just wanted to share my screen real quick and show folks how to do that in case they had any questions. Oh, no, y'all get to see my elephants. That's not what I wanted you to see. Oh, come on. Hold on. Where is it? Bear with me a second, sorry. Oh, I realize that if I try and share my screen with you on Zoom, you can't see it because it just shows you my actual screen. That doesn't work very well.
I would just walk them through it, Hannah.
Okay, I'm just going to walk you through. I apologize. I was going to share my screen, but turns out I can't. So if anybody wants to raise their hand and they have a question or comment, you can go to the bottom of your screen, float on the bottom of the Zoom window, and it says participants. You click on participants and a box will pop open with all the different people who are participating's names. You float over your name and it can say, or phone number, whatever the case is, it says mute, and then it also says more. Oh, wait, no, that's not right. Oh man, I'm so ill prepared for this. I apologize. You should be able to go on the, I'm sorry, once you open participants, you should see on the bottom, it says raise hand with little raise hand icon. Does everyone see that? I apologize, my
No.
function. Was that a yes or a no? I apologize.
Yes, can see it here.
You can see it here. I apologize. I've been doing it not as host and it shows up for me, but as soon as I start to host, it changes everything on me. So yep, you just go next to it and raise your hand. I will then, or the chair will then call on you. I can unmute you or you can unmute yourself. And let me see. I see Maria had said yes, and then I can ask you to unmute, for example. So I saw you wrote yes or no or raise your hand. So I can ask, can I unmute you? You can unmute yourself. I can raise and unraise your hand for you once you raise it as well. Mute and unmute is on the bottom of your screen, obviously on the bottom left. If you float a couple icons over from participants, there's a mute on the bottom left, and then there's also chat in the middle of your screen. So if anybody had technical issues, your screen cuts out, you're talking, but nobody can hear you. You're raising your hand, nobody can see you. You can go in that chat box, either directly chat to the whole group and just say, hey, I'm having technical issues, or you can speak to a specific person. So if you just want to tell the chair something, that you're having technical issues, but we suggest you write to everybody, so it's part of the record. Any questions on the technical side of things?
Nothing here. Anybody else have any questions? Try and raise your hand now as a practice if you want to. Good. Sounds good.
All right,
Sounds like
I'll turn it over.
the one thing we didn't do is we're going to dispense with the pledge if that's okay, since we don't have one physically in the room. So we'll dispense with that this time as well. Other than that, no deferred matters, no other business at this time, and I will turn it over to staff to present case 20/1240, proposed amendments to the ZBA bylaws, an action to amend the ZBA bylaws. And staff, it's over to you.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen. So what we have given you this morning is your bylaws with a series of amendments to those bylaws to make allowances for the ZBA to hold meetings via audio or video conference. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Brad, if you want to add anything to that, basically, it depends on how the board wants to do it. If you want to go through page by page, or if you just want to discuss the amendments as a group, whichever the board prefers, we can.
Yeah, I would leave that decision up to the chairman.
If you just want to go page by page quick, that would be fine. We'll just go through them, and if anybody's got a question as we turn each page, just go ahead and ask it then, if that's okay.
So can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. So actually there were no changes on the first page. Second page, several of the changes, I just, as we were looking at this and digging into it, we decided since we were opening it back up for amendments that we would also go ahead and update the language to remove specific gender references, which was and that's a precedent that's been set by the Lake County Board recently. So a lot of those changes are just strictly to reference to remove references to specific genders. And then also a lot of the changes are just basically housekeeping to clean up grammatical or typographical errors. And then the bulk of the changes are to reflect the changes in the meeting format. So for instance, during a hearing, we would have the court reporter transcribing the meeting, but we will also be doing a video recording. And so that's where you see this, obviously changing the name of the committee that was changed recently on the county board as well. So any questions on this page? So just one thing to note while I am sharing my screen, my meeting screen itself has been minimized, so it's very difficult for me to see if anybody has any questions. So just verbally let me know. If I don't hear anybody responding, I'll just move on to the next page. So on page 3, and then just one thing to note, so Member Peterson did email staff yesterday with some comments. What I have done was incorporate those comments in blue. So that's a new addition to the packet that you have. So, and we can kind of go through these changes. So and the change on this page, it was just a rewording of that sentence to make more grammatical sense, I believe. And then additional things were added to, again, reflect changes to the format of the meeting itself. If there's no questions on that, we'll move on to page 4. This was strictly a change to reflect, in case somebody has to step away from their computer, or they are on mute, or having technical difficulties while the roll call for a roll call vote is being announced, that and we weren't able to have somebody verbally give their vote, that member would be counted as abstaining in that particular time and moment. Moving to page 4, again, just a change for typographical errors and to reflect the changes with the Illinois Open Meetings Act. Page 5 allows meetings to be held not in a physical location via audio video conference. Questions? 6 was, again, agenda reference there. And then also what we have done was made some minor changes to how public comment can be submitted. So rather than normally somebody would come in person to the hearing and they would submit it to the chair directly, when possible, we would like to receive public comments in advance of the meeting to start, and to do so, they would be submitting it to the ZBA recording secretary. So they'd be giving it to staff ahead of time. And that's what this change is about. Moving to page 8, just some minor changes on that page. And again, just some minor changes on page 9. And, do we have a question from Maggie?
Yeah, I just had a question back on page 7. I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out grammatically, I think you have crossed out too many words and it needs to say prior to the start. Because right now I think you just have submitted start.
You are correct. So let me put that in there, prior. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going back. Any other questions so far? I don't want to be rushing through it, but I also don't want to not be efficient in getting through this. So I believe we were on page 10. So these were, again, minor changes. And excuse me, the same with 11 and 12. So just allowing for whether we're, we can hold a hearing or a meeting at the permit facility or via audio video conference, depending on what the circumstances are. So, and I believe that's the rest of the pages are just minor changes to the to the forms that the public would be using. This was one thing that member Peterson pointed out, so we can keep, however, whatever the means of presentation that the public wants to make, whether it's a PowerPoint handout, poster board, a written statement, or email, we will basically be accepting anything and everything from that. And then we did have this one addition from member Peterson as well, and I'll let Brad speak to that. And that would be that's the bulk of the changes. Is there any general questions? Okay, Brad, do you want to talk about the suggested edit to page 17?
And sure, member Peterson, feel free to jump on. So with this, what is your expertise in the subject matter? The file due process, and correct me if I'm wrong, we want to have the opportunity for everybody to speak. I think where we want to have an expert on the subject matter would be during testimony, expert testimony by the applicant or somebody objecting. So this wording in this area might be slightly problematic. I don't know. I want to let member Peterson to have an opportunity to give her opinion on that.
Right. So this is Maria Peterson. So in a lot of the hearings, you'll have neighbors who will just get up and speak for the fact that they just don't like the project. They claim they know about flooding, but oftentimes you'll hear simple complaints from people, and that slows down the process. And I'm not saying that we should curb due process, not at all. I'm for due process. However, just to have people get up and speak because they don't like their neighbor, but they're somehow complaining about their neighbor's property, or they don't like the project, isn't necessarily due process. That's just them taking time from the hearing to get to the more important issues. And so by asking what's your expertise in the subject matter, it may give pause to the thought of, well, really, I'm not an expert on flooding. I'm not a civil engineer. And I really just don't like the project. So maybe I best just sit down and listen. But of course, there are other ways to say it. That was just a suggestion that I had. So that's all I have to offer.
Well, and just I would just add that the chair does have the ability, it's under item number 8 on page 7. So the chair does have the ability to limit, we don't necessarily have to allow every single person who wants to address the board to do so when those comments start becoming repetitive in nature. So we do have some control in that fashion. Just wanted to add that.
I'm aware of that. I'm sorry, this is Maria Peterson again. Yes, I'm aware of that, and I have no doubt that the next chair will be as diligent as our previous chair was. But I just again say that maybe somebody would just give pause to like, well, I don't really like this project, and therefore really I just should not say anything unless I do have something substantial to offer. But that's all.
Thanks, Maria. Any other comments or feedback on that from other ZBA members? Or if not, staff, did you have any comment on it or any concern?
I think member Starkey has a question. She's unmuted.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
if you could scroll back to that page, I feel as though it is the chair's responsibility to keep the comments short. And let's say if I were a neighbor and I wanted to just say my piece, that's if we don't want to limit their input on this, I feel. perhaps we could rephrase that to say, what is your relationship to or expertise in the subject matter, or something like that? Because the purpose of a public hearing is to let people's voices be heard. So even if they just don't like the project because they just don't like it, they have the right to come and say that. So I've never, when you're signing in for a meeting and you have to put your, you know, your name and what you want to speak on, I've never seen a sentence like that in any public meeting.
Hey, Eric Wagner here.
Eric.
If I could add, I think that if we were going to entertain a modification to the rules along these lines, it would probably be appropriate to consult the state's attorney's office just to make sure that we're not violating either procedural or substantive due process in so doing. I don't think that's the intent here. I think that we're simply, at staff, we're simply trying to navigate a rule change that will have consequences, and some of those could be unintended if this specific requirement is embedded in the rules, and a party is aggrieved at the conclusion of, let's say, a member of the public feels aggrieved at the conclusion of a hearing and feels that their rights to provide public comment have been in any way curtailed. This could be the vehicle that they could rely on in challenging the decision. And I'm not suggesting that is what's intended here. I'm simply saying that we have to be somewhat cautious about how this potentially could be used against the process by parties to the hearing.
Thanks, Eric. Any other comments from any of the ZBA members? I know in the past, George has done a good job. And I think the one thing, people sometimes just want to speak, and we've had people say, I'm not an attorney, or I'm not a land planner, or I'm not a developer, and I might not be an expert, but I think sometimes they just want to vent. And I think in the past, at least, George always did a good job of saying, let us know how you feel, whether it's a personal opinion or an expert opinion, and we just kind of took it. We've not had any issues with in the past. My question was going to be what the state's attorney would think of it as well, just if we were ever challenged on it down the road. So I guess if it's okay, if staff would have the state's attorney maybe look at it, would be my suggestion. At this point, we just leave it as staff is presented. And if there's something that the state's attorney thinks can be incorporated in there off of Member Peterson's comments, we can come back and take a look at that, if that's okay, if that works for you, Maria.
Yeah, that would be
great.
okay. That would be my suggestion, is that we would remove this this particular piece of it and table it. Give staff can work with state's attorney's office, and we can always open these back up in the future if the board feels that that's appropriate. So.
And we can bring back at another review meeting the results of their analysis.
Yes.
And so that would be that we could at that point have a discussion about whether whether the ZBA would want to direct staff to come back with another amendment at a subsequent meeting.
I think that works, unless any other board members have another opinion. Once we wrap up, that'll be part of the motion to go ahead and just direct staff to continue looking at that. Anything else from staff on the proposed changes before we open it up for any other questions? Was that a no? I think I didn't hear somebody.
Yeah, sorry. This is Krista Brown again. Nothing from me.
Okay, good. Any board members have any questions of staff or anything that didn't make sense to you, or any grammatical things that you saw in there that you wanted us to take a look at, so staff to take a look at before we brought this for a vote? don't see any hands going up. And I think it's good to do. We haven't looked at this for a while. We haven't looked at the process, with the pandemic and the way we have to operate now. I think it's always good to go through these every so often. We've had them in the past where they've come up based on a case issue. So I think it's good to be proactive on those. So kudos to staff for taking the time to go through them and bring us up to where we should be on these. If there are no other comments or questions, I guess I would look for a motion at this time to accept the changes as presented. And I'll entertain that at this time if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll second.
Moved.
Brad, did you get the first and second there? I know Maria was one of them there.
I so moved.
Okay, so Denny Hockney will have the first, Maria the second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Brad, are you okay without a roll call vote on that, or would you like a roll call? You're muted, Brad. Do you want a roll call?
Yeah, I think because of the way, I know the way the board has been doing it, with everybody being remote, that they have been doing a specific roll call vote for, I believe, every vote.
Okay, sounds good. Brad, if you want to do a roll call on that one then.
Brad,
You're
you're
muted, Brad.
There we go. On the proposed ZBA rules changes, member Hockney,
Aye.
member Peterson,
Aye.
member Roche,
Aye.
member Starkey,
Aye.
and Chairman Kappan.
Aye.
The proposed rules changes are ratified 5-0.
Great, thank you. Any other business from staff or any other business from any members since we haven't seen you for a while?
I just want to say congratulations, Greg, on you're being the head now.
And just acting, I guess, now, so be gentle.
Oh, no.
I think it is. I think it's nice to see some new faces on here too, and some new ideas, and I think that will be good. So, and kudos to staff, not just on this, but everything they've done during the pandemic too. I know it's been difficult, but keeping us informed on the board side, I think they did an outstanding job. And going through this, I know we have 2 more meetings coming up, I think this month, the 24th and the 29th, and getting us up and running on Zoom was also great. So I know we'll have more of these. Hopefully we can meet in person more often. But until then, kudos to all of you for going through the process. And I think it was a good time. We'll get Rindle on there next time.
Can we get an agenda or a roster of everybody on the board now
Yes, we can do that for you.
with names, addresses, phone numbers, email, so forth?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll get you an updated roster and as well as the finalized version of the bylaws that were approved, that you voted on today. So we'll get that to you within a day or 2.
Great. Sounds good. If there's nothing else to come before the board, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
I think that was Maria and Dennis, maybe, if I heard it right, Brad.
Yes. Hockney
Perfect.
and Roche.
I thought it was Linda Starkey.
Was it Linda? Okay.
Yeah, it was me.
Linda. Got it. Thanks, Linda. Linda and Dennis. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all. We'll see you at 9 a.m. on the 24th. Any questions you have before that, feel free to reach out to staff and they can get you whatever you need. But have a great afternoon and enjoy the weather too.
Thank you, everyone.